going on YouTube? It's Jake Yeaton here, and welcome to the Jake Yeaton Show. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for those audio listeners out there, please rate this podcast 5 stars and subscribe. Also, shoot me a text at 207-222-7589 to join my community. Lastly, if you don't already know, I am a real estate agent here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and a darn good one at that. If you're in the Bangor area, please shoot me an email at hello@jakeyeaton.com. But if you're getting ready to list your home, or you're in the market for a home and you're not in the Bangor area, no worries. Go to agentsjaketrusts.com and fill out that short form. There you will see in more detail what agentsjaketrusts.com is all about. But I will help you find a top agent in your area at no cost to you. That's agentsjaketrusts.com. Again, that's agentsjaketrusts.com. All right, let's get into the episode. So, in today's real estate news, it's January 19th, 2021. We're going to talk a little bit about first, how ski towns are seeing a surge of interest from snowbirds. Second, there are some home design trends that were brought up in 2020 that are here to stay. Then there's the math behind why build to rent is becoming more and more popular. And then lastly, there's 10 features that will help draw guests to your short-term rental. So, without further ado, let's get into the news. So, from Forbes, let me read you this article. I can skip that first paragraph. So it says here that searches of homes in ski towns were up nearly 36% year over year in the fourth quarter of 2020, according to a new report from Realtor.com. Much of the increased demand is coming from residents of cold weather northern states, often referred to as snowbirds, as they search for homes with outdoor recreation options closer to home during the pandemic. Historically, residents of the Midwest and Northeast have shown a preference for warmer cities and contributed to much of the out-of-state demand in home in sunny states such as Florida, said Realtor.com chief economist Daniel Hale. This year, we found that snowbirds' interest in ski towns increased more than interest from other areas across the country. Hale went on to say it's not surprising. She says that skiing is done outdoors and generally at a distance from others, making it relatively safe during the pandemic. Many of these areas offer year-round outdoor activities, making them summer destinations as well. The analysis also examined the home searches of residents from 10 snowbird markets to nearly 200 resort-linked ski towns. So it found residents of 8 of these markets, being Boston, Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, Indianapolis, New York, Philadelphia, Providence, Rhode Island, and Minneapolis, were showing record interest in ski towns. The exceptions were Baltimore and Detroit, where searches for ski towns were still up year over year, but lower than the rest of the U.S. market overall. It just keeps going on and on and on about which cities. So I will actually go through the top 10 ski towns in the fourth quarter of 2020, just so you know. First is this is actually going from most interest to least interest in the top 10. So first is Uniondale, Pennsylvania, increase in searches year over year, 225%. Median list price is $185,000. Next is Chateau, Montana, increase in searches 143. Median list price is $174,000. Then it's North Creek, New York at 132. 272,000 was the median list price. Eden, Utah, 122% in increases in searches. Median list price was we'll round it off to 1.2 million. Windham, New York, increase in searches 118%, and the median list price was $692,000. Bone, Iowa, 113% with a median list price of $165,000. Otis, Massachusetts, 113%, with a median list price of $402,000. Lakeside, Montana, 105%, and the median list price is $972,000. The other one is Chloe, Indiana, increase in searches of 103,000 with the median list price of $135,000. Bone Falls, 100% increase with the median list price of $321,000. So this article was written by Brenda Richardson, as you can see down here. But my thoughts on this: ski towns are awesome. I mean, if you've ever been up north in British Columbia to Whistler, that's one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been in my entire life. It's kind of like a dream come true. I love the snow though, so there is that. I mean, this just makes a lot of sense. I don't really buy that the real reason why there's been so much, there's been such a surge in ski towns is because of the pandemic. I really don't buy that, oh, it's because, skiing, you can ski at a distance. No, I think it has to do with, and this would require more research, but I believe that it's a great investment opportunity when you look at the investment market of the whole, really the whole world, but we'll just focus on the nation. All the traditional routes are kind of ballooned, multifamily, real estate, even timber, single family home real estate, luxury apartments in like New York and LA and such, farms, like everything's just getting inflated. And I think ski towns kind of get overlooked every once in a while as an investment. I also do think that it possibly does have to do with maybe that these snowbirds are starting to become Gen Xers and not boomers, and possibly Gen Xers like the outdoors more than the boomers did. Boomers wanted to go down to Arizona and Florida and have a good drink. Maybe Gen Xers and millennials want to get outside. So that's my 2 cents on it. This link, you can read the full article, and this will be in the description below. Next up, we have 10 home trends that are sure to stay. So this is also from Forbes. This was written on January 16th of this year. So, unlike Chip and Jonah Gaines, I think, the pandemic has been the biggest influence on interior design that no one asked for, right? We're all cooped up in our houses. At the beginning of 2020, designers were touting for two-tone kitchens in bold colors as the next big trends, and little did anyone know that basically we would have to combine all the amenities of the city into our house: gyms, office, etc. So anyway, here are the things that are sticking for all of you real estate investors out there. You really should look into this because anecdotally speaking, I was excited when we moved out to Maine this is before the pandemic, to eventually get like a gym membership and an office and all this stuff. And now I'm talking to my wife about it, and she agrees, and we are building up funds to go do it, but we would like to kind of just put everything in the house. And that does depend on if you can stand your spouse enough or not. We don't get sick of each other, so we don't have a problem, fortunately. Anyway, first one, home gyms. Obviously, home gyms are a big thing. With Peloton, was it Tonal was that other one? There's like Mirror, there's all these other brands, and then there's like the traditional brands. But going into the article, gyms have not reopened everywhere, and many people have adapted to home fitness routines. So having a space to exercise couldn't be more important, especially to Asha K, CEO of activewear brands Accor and UltraCore. These days, being active is not an option. It's essential for mental health, she says. It is true, you need to get out of the house. You need to exercise, you need to do something, because being cooped up in essentially a box all day will drive you bonkers. So that's the first one. The second is, or actually let me go into the article a bit more. It does say here though that, however, if you don't have a large enough space, that doesn't mean that workouts are out of the question. You could just corner off a section of a big enough room and just do it there. You could get something, as it says here, where you can just corner off a section of your basement family room or office with dumbbells, resistant bands, and a ball, then expand off of that. He says what you could do also is if you have some money, you could get like a tonal, and those don't take up much room, and it's essentially an entire gym outside of the cardio equipment right there. So, you know, having a home gym does not require you to have everything that a gym has. Think internally, what do you want in like, what do you like to do for exercise, and just have that one piece of equipment and go from there. Do you like dumbbells? Do you like a bike? Do you like treadmill, stair steppers, a bar for like the bar workouts, other things. Next is home offices, obviously. Because technology has made a large corporate office unnecessary in many ways, home offices are now considered a must-have. The data is there with commercial real estate and from Fortune 500 companies. Even when the vaccine is heavily distributed, working from home is going to be just a normal thing. You will, for a lot of jobs, you will have the option of working from home, with the occasional going into the office maybe once a week if you live close to an office, or like a company retreat every 6 months. Tech companies have been doing this for years. Not big box ones like Amazon or Google, but startups have been doing this for years. If you've ever paid attention to remote working, they'll often let everybody work remotely, never have to go to an office, never have office space. It was a huge competitive advantage. And then maybe 3, 4, 2 times a year, they will go to a retreat and spend all that money that they would have spent on an office, and spend a fraction of it on an awesome, week-long trip to like France, or to like Thailand or Japan, or somewhere in the United States or whatever. So these home offices are definitely gonna stay here. But going back into the article, for those fortunate enough to work from home this past year, a home office or work from home zone has become essential, even as businesses and offices reopen. Many companies have made the conscious shift to a work from home hybrid model, which only requires employees to come in every few days, blah, blah, blah. I just explained that. For example, here we go. For example, if renovations are out of reach, you just cannot make an actual home office out of a room. I mean, by knocking off whatever. You can just take the sliding. You can just take off sliding closet doors and turn a guest room closet into an office. One thing that I think is going to become more and more popular is those, I forgot what they're called, but like the retractable beds that like fold down for guest rooms, because you don't use that bed that often. That bed will go up. You can use that entire all that area for a home office. And then when you have company, if it's just once or twice a year for like your in-laws or family members or whatever that come to your house, you can just work. You probably won't be working, you'll probably have the time off, but if you don't, you can just work out of a coffee shop. You can explain that you have to work, and maybe you can adapt rather. But that's that. Next is elevated outdoor spaces. So in 2020, people were spending more of their time in their yards for health and safety reasons, and many were sitting on their patios for the first time, socializing at a distance in their backyard, or watching birthday parties from their front yards. Excuse me. She says blankly, she predicts that indoor spaces will continue to inspire outdoor design, with outdoor rugs and dining sets becoming popular choices for most backyards. The same can be said for fire pits and other outdoor heat sources, which have become essential in cooler climates. This is definitely true. I mean, people are they finally saw like, oh, my yard is a necessity. Again, my personal belief, I don't think that the pandemic's gonna last as long as everyone's thinking it's like a lifelong thing in this case, but I think that the pandemic did open up people's creative minds a little bit more of the average house, even with a tiny yard, has a lot of space that they can make use of, and there's a lot of ways to make use of that with the never-ending products on Wayfair and all the ideas, for example, on Pinterest. Next is nature-inspired design. This has been around for a while. The natural world has been a major influence on design in recent years. More than ever, we've been craving a renewed bond with nature and the outdoors. Organic materials and pure textiles showcase nature's beauty, structure, and irregularities. Sorry for that. I butchered that. Says Rebecca Brenslin, senior design manager at Wayfair Professional, tells me. Earth tones, organic shapes and textures, woven rattan and reclaimed materials speak to our need for sustainable design and everyday wellness. It goes on to continue explaining that. This makes sense clearly because, well, I mean, as we're not spending time outdoors, we'll want it indoors. Also, this has been this is not a trend that started in 2020. This has been going on for a while, where more and more people moving to the city, they end up missing the nature aspect of living more out in like a rural area. So they end up like putting in fake plants or natural wood, and it's always been expensive, but now you can get natural wood looking furniture for relatively cheap now. So next is gallery walls. The gallery wall is on its way to becoming a classic and isn't likely to fall out of favor anytime soon. However, according to home goods style expert and interior designer Diana Smith, there is an overall shift towards making this design choice more meaningful and intentional than in previous years. In 2020, we saw a greater focus on cultural design tied to embracing one's ethnicity, background, and traditions, which I hope will continue far past 2021. Smith recommends framing old family photos and keepsakes using a mix of metal and wooden frames in a variety of sizes and styles, which are easy to find at home at stores like Home Goods. The gallery wall will tell the story of your family and heritage, and the varying frame styles will help to showcase different stages of your family and life. This is a really cool idea. I have plenty of things that I would love to use. I have like World War II maps that were used for the tanks in, I think it was Italy, and also in Russia from my great-grandfather. He served under Patton, and then like I have like other things like Yeaton, which was he was like the first commissioned Coast Guard officer, or the first commissioned Navy officer of America in general, and then he helped create the Coast Guard. There's a lot of other things, so this is a really cool idea. Next is uplifting art. Clearly, everyone's really negative now, so just put a lot of smiles everywhere. Walnut wood. This continues on to the idea of bringing nature into your home. Art decal. New York City and Paris based interior designer Alexander Doherty, I'm so bad with names, is prominent of the art deco style, which had its revival in 2020. The style will continue to remain popular because of how well it integrates into contemporary spaces. It is ideal for new construction, like many homes in New York City that live in glass tower buildings. Art deco is a style that will incorporate itself very easily into homes with little architecture, and it is key to be able to give a nod to the past while utilizing modern elements for those looking to integrate more of this style into their current homes, I believe. He suggests combining a variety of material styles and time periods to create a layered look. So, and have an example there. Next up is bonnets. There's that. And the last one is finishing touches. So there's all of that. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Anyway, before we get on to the next two stories, which include the math behind why there's so much more build to rent, and 10 features that will help draw guests to your short-term rental. Quick word from our sponsor. So anyway, if you're a real estate agent out there and you have a website and it's just kind of sitting there, it's just kind of sitting there as a business card, you don't want to do that. You want it to be able to generate a lot of business for you. Zillow and Realtor are eating up market share as we speak. As a realtor, if you don't already know this, when you pay Zillow for a lead, you are paying Zillow for a lead that you could have gotten anyway if you just had your own website. It's really silly. You're basically paying Zillow the privilege to be able to get a lead. It doesn't make sense. The other thing that it doesn't actually make sense, but it works, is cold calling every single day. If you keep cold calling as like your main lead generation strategy, well, when you can't cold call, you're crap out of luck for that day. And when you screw up your cold calls, you just aren't feeling great. You know, you have like a tummy bug or something. It doesn't go good, and you lose out on leads. Why not have leads come to you? This is why you need Carrot. Carrot is an all-in-one platform for real estate investors and real estate agents that its sole focus is to be able to get you leads at virtually no effort. Not virtually no effort, but once you have put in work for the leads, it continues to churn out leads after leads after leads. Carrot comes with a variety of different design templates for your website. It also comes with a lot of content pre-made for you. So if you can't get to a blog post, a video, a podcast for that day, Carrot has you covered with pre-made blog posts. So you are at least producing content on your website. If you ever follow Gary Vee, he always explains content, and it is true. There is a way to get around the Zillow and the Realtor duopoly, and Carrot's that way. Go to Carrot right now and just give it a try. I love it. I use it. So anyway, go to Carrot. Right now. You can get there by going to JakeTrustsCarrot.com. That's JakeTrustsCarrot.com. Take it off that cold calling hamster wheel. That's JakeTrustsCarrot.com. Right, now back to the episode. So next up is the concrete math driving build to rent. Okay, so I don't want to watch a video. So the build to rent sector gathers stream data each day and shows no sign of slacking off, but many people misunderstand the inner workings of the market and fail to see what sets it apart. This article will help the average investor understand this. And in short, this approach to rental property and management is successful because of the concrete math and not just a fad, right? So first, what is build to rent if you don't already know? Sometimes abbreviated as B2R, BTR, or BFR. Build to rent is exactly what it sounds like. A real estate model where builders and developers contrast housing intended for use as a rental property. Some build to rent companies construct individual units while others develop land from the ground up, turning unused space into fully furnished commodities. In either case, the basic process and motivation remain the same. Markets across the Southeast have seen a boom in this sector, with Florida forming the latest virgin territory for investment and growth. What is the reason for this boom? It's simple math. Build to rent can provide more return on investment and a cheaper cost of production and strives to meet increasing consumer demand. Return on investment. So next up is return on investment. Build to rent tends to be lucrative for a variety of reasons. Because of the communities are meticulously planned with renters in mind, they look more professional than neighborhoods containing a high percentage of individually owned rental properties. Developers often build to rent communities in close proximity to good schools and allow for ample driveway and garage space, clearing up the road. So once they are completed, owners of these communities often manage landscaping wholesale, producing crisp results at premium rates. These disparate elements combine to produce a superior product. In many cases, owners can charge up to 20% more for rent than they might on housing acquired using fix and flip methods. Furthermore, should they try to cash out after a few years in the rental business, owners stand to make more profit on youthful properties. For financial backers, though, this solid return on investment is both enticing and it's dependable. I love this, by the way. So next up is the cost of production. So for builders, time is money, and standardizing the product saves time. Many construction companies adore build to rent because of its standardization. They don't deal with finicky owners, and they don't need to give each unit custom fixtures or particular tones of paint, but instead they can focus on what they do best, reliably producing needed products without all the fuss. Builders also save money more directly by building in bulk and fulfilling a smaller number of warranty requests, although it is still standard practice for builders to provide 1-year warranties on rental property. Fewer requests are made because investors are likely to have fewer preferences than private owners. This makes sense. It's basically just like the builders like to build these homes, these rent to build homes, because they are cookie cutter, and once they know how to build one home, it's just the same every single time. They don't have to do like the flip or flop thing where they have to have like all this custom design and everything, which I would imagine as a builder would become very annoying. Rate of consumption. So finally, consumers drive the growth of build to rent by demanding an increasing supply of middle-range rental properties. Reasons for this market demand are varied but rely on current demographic trends, including millennials maturing, baby boomers moving, and more people overall are renting. Consumers are also demanding single-family rental housing at higher rates than ever before, and single-family rental properties at 5.6% more occupied than they were in 2007, and the percentage continues to grow. So as long as the demand outpaces supply, the build-to-rent sector will continue to boom. So, the future of build-to-rent. A person cannot step into the same river twice. Neither can they invest in the same market. By the time this article is published, which it is, the market will have changed, but build-to-rent is more than a fad. Like a house hefted on a slab, build-to-rent is supported by concrete math. It is a relatively new model, but one that has battled through the trial period and emerged as a strong contender. Build-to-rent may be going places, but it isn't going away anytime soon. You can read this article again in the description below, but my thoughts on this. It makes sense. I mean, if you're an investor and if you want to rent out a house, right? Why don't I just build a community? This is like assuming you have the capital and everything. Why don't I just build a small community or a pretty large housing community of just all renters? God, this is a really good idea, because this makes a lot of sense. And for the banks and such who are handing out the loans and all of this, it like you pointed out in the article, it is so much safer knowing that like trying to sell a house compared to finding a renter is way harder, because you have to convince somebody to put a few $1,000s down plus get locked into that house for 30 years, it is a pretty tough sell. But if you just say, look, you can just rent this house, it's a pretty easy sell. And then if they move out, you don't have this vacant property. It's pretty easy to get a new renter, and especially if you're in a high, like if you're in a high population metropolitan area, for example. So this is great. Last but certainly not least, we will leave on a note for all of those investors out there. Let me just let it load. Aw, it's behind it. So, here, I will find a random article that will not be, here, last article actually, sorry about this, is from Realtor.com. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac can keep future earnings per agreement between Treasury and regulators. Let's get into the news. The Federal Housing Finance Agency and the Treasury Department have reached an agreement that will allow Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to keep their earnings for the foreseeable future. The FHFA and Treasury agreed to amend the preferred stock purchase agreements for the shares in the two enterprises that the federal government continues to hold following the Great Recession. The amendments will let Fannie and Freddie retain all earnings until they have reached the requirements set by the FHFA's new capital rule issued late last year. Under that rule, the two mortgage giants would have been required to hold $283 billion in unadjusted total capital as of June 30th of 2020 based on their assets at the time. In 2019, the two agencies reached an agreement to let the mortgage giants retain up to a combined $45 billion in earnings, $25 billion for Fannie Mae and $20 billion for Freddie Mac. Prior to that, all of the Fannie and Freddie's earnings were swept to the Treasury Department as a dividend to repay the federal government for bailing the enterprises out. Can I get this to go? The two enterprises have already almost met the $45 billion in capital they were allowed to retain. The agreement leaves unaddressed the status of Treasury's preferred shares and keeps Fannie and Freddie in conservationship in the wake of President-elect Joe Biden's successful presidential campaign. Reports emerged that the Trump administration was considering a plan to remove Fannie and Freddie from the conservationship quickly, which would require Treasury's sign-off. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle expressed concerns that a hasty exit from I cannot read this. Conservationship would come at a taxpayer expense. It would, if it involved the Treasury's writing off the stakes as it holds Fannie and Freddie, blah 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 blah. So, what about this article? I mean, it kind of seems like Fannie and Freddie signing off on all of those bad mortgages in 2007 and 8 and 6 and 5 and 4. You know, they're just gonna get off scot-free. That's what it sounds like to me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Jake Yeaton Show today. That was the 4 articles that I have for you. If you have any questions or anything, please join my community and shoot me a text at 207-222-7589. If you follow me on social media, and I just want to thank you again for tuning in. All right, until next time, bye-bye.